Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Call Fishing. Alright, in today's episode, I'm taking the kayak out over to Lake Sammamish. This lake is located on the east side of Lake Washington. It's actually quite close by to the city. You can probably get to the lake within 20 minutes from anywhere in the greater Seattle area. Alright, so the usual launching place is just at the state park, located on the southeast side of the lake. This boat launch is really nice and well maintained. The main benefits is the parking lot is right next to the water, so you won't have to drag your kayaks far. Okay, here I'm gonna demonstrate how to unload my kayak from my SUV. The kayak I have is a Hobie Pro Angler 14. This kayak is 14 feet long and weighs about 120 pounds empty. And as you can see, I can just roll it off my car and set it on the ground easy like this. And then just lift the front onto the ground, and that's it. So I'm able to do this easily thanks to the Yakima Showboat 66 Kayak Loader. I highly recommend this item if you have a big kayak and are looking for a kayak loader that you can handle solo. I'll put a link for it in the description below so you guys can go ahead and check it out. Okay, so one thing to note is that the Showboat is actually only rated for a boat up to 80 pounds. So something to keep in mind if you're looking to load something really heavy using this item. For me, it's been working for the past couple years, but I wouldn't push it beyond its limit any more than that. Alright, so when the kayak's off and you put on the wheel, now you can go ahead and start to load it and hit the water. Okay, now back to Lake Sammamish. So as I mentioned, this is a state park where I'm launching from, so you either need a discovery pass or you have to pay $10 for a day pass. The boat launch site does have a pay station where you can purchase your day pass, or if you bring your boat along, you can purchase your launch pass here also. Alright, a quick note here. So on this trip, I actually forgot my life jacket and I had to use one of those Titanic style red life jacket. But you know, better be safe, especially out in the winter. The water temperature is freezing and I'm definitely not stronger than hypothermia, so definitely better be safe than sorry. Alright, so some quick notes right here. For my kayak, I have the big beach wheel, and the one downside of them is that when you're trying to take them off, it's rather difficult to do so because they're so buoyant. They'll float up as you try to lift your kayak off it. So you can see here it took me a couple tries to actually get the wheel off, and I had to lift the kayak up a lot higher to get that clearance. I actually don't recommend using the beach wheel if you can launch and your entire way is on pavements or cement. In my opinion, they make it a little bit harder, make your kayaks a little bit heavier to drag, and they take up more space on your kayak. These are fantastic though if you ever have to drag your kayaks on a sandy beach or anything. Alright, so as you can see here, I went bare feet into the water, and it's doable if you do it quick. Would not recommend it otherwise because the water is freezing cold and it can really burn up a lot of your energy in a short amount of time. Alright, let's make sure these are tightened up. Alright, let me show you guys quickly how fast I can cruise around with the Hobie. Here I'm pedaling pretty casually and we're making about 3-4 miles an hour. So today I'm out in Lake Sammamish targeting cutthroat trout. So let me show you guys the rig I'm using. I'm trying to get the presentation down to about 20 feet of water. So without a downrigger, I'm just using a slider rig. I have on a Lure Jensen flasher and then a leader out to a wedding ring. I'll leave a link in the description below to all the gears if you guys are interested. So as you guys know, wedding ring is a tried and true lure for going for trouts. So I figure since this is my first time fishing here, I give them a try. One tip with these wedding rings is to tip the hook with some worm. That'll give it just a little bit something extra to help entice the bite. Another thing is there are a ton of colors for these wedding rings and you can't go wrong with any of them. I think the key to them is variety. So my favorites are the pink and red or green and chartreuse color. Those are my favorite, but depending on the day and water conditions, weather, what have you, some other color combinations may be better. So it's just a good idea to have a variety of them. Alright guys, so another tip is after a while, if you're not hooking up or not seeing any actions, feel free to change up the presentations or setup. So here for me, I switched out the color, changed it from chartreuse to pink, or a whole different setup essentially. So let me show you guys the second setup I use. Pretty similar to the other first setup, the sliding rig, but this time I'm using a small Dodger, one of those 8-inch one. And with a Dignite spoon at the end. Yeah, don't be afraid to switch it up if nothing's happening, because you know things don't change if you're doing the same things over and over. I also experimented with different depths. I didn't have my downrigger here with me, so I'm just using a weight. The 3 ounce was actually pretty heavy and created a lot of drags, so I wouldn't recommend it for, especially for trout fishing. So if you want to get down deep, downrigger is the way. Otherwise, using a weight, especially targeting smaller fish like these trouts, are not too effective. Again, they cause a lot of drags, and it's very hard to tell whether you have a strike or not. Alright guys, one more tip is try to vary the speed a little bit and the path of your kayak. Here's an example of what I do every now and then as I'm trolling. You can see the path of the kayak to be in this kind of curvy formations instead of just going straight from point A to point B. And what this does is it changes the speed of your presentations, and it might entice a strike from the fish. Alright, fish on at last. Alright, at this point I was just kind of reeling it in. I wasn't sure if I had something on the line. The weight and lures created a lot of drag, so I wasn't sure if I had anything on. Didn't feel any tugs or anything. Alright, pretty excited to see a fish at the end of the line. Alright, when you guys are doing catch and release, do your best to not take the fish out of the water. Here in Washington State, it's best practice anyway, because for salmons and stuff, you're not supposed to take them out of the water unless you are able to keep them and want to keep them. Alright, so that was the only actions of the day that I saw. I was out for about 3.5 hours just trolling around the lake. So I saw plenty of activities on the fish finder. So for those of you guys who are more knowledgeable, let me know if this is fish or if there's something else. Alright, the weather is supposed to get bad, so I just called it a day. Still a beautiful day to be out, especially all the rains we've been having here in Washington. Alright, so it turned out I got out at the perfect time because it started pouring as soon as I took the kayak out of the water. So let me show you guys how I low mount my kayak using the Yakima showboat and how it handles even in wet and rainy conditions like this. Alright, same technique here. Just kind of center the kayak with the car. Lift and bring the kayak heads over onto the bars. Take the wheel off. And the last step is just to lift the kayak up and push it onto your rack. Remember to lift with your legs and watch your back, keep it straight. And if your kayak isn't quite center, you can just adjust it here. Push it forward until it's about center with the bars, and that's it. You're ready to tie up your kayak and you're good to go. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or tips below for me to be more successful out there. I'll keep trying and we'll see if we can catch some fish next time. Alright guys, thanks for watching.